Shelley and Sher, it's a pleasure to have you on the Pickleball Therapy podcast. Yeah, I did it again. And we just finished a podcast for your all's podcast. So why don't you guys say hello to everybody? Tell them a little bit about yourselves. Sher, why don't we start with you and then we'll go to Shelley.
Oh man, we just had the best conversation with you, Tony, and I don't think we can keep up. Oh my God. It was an amazing half hour, 40 minutes. I mean, we just didn't want to stop. So thank you so much for having us on your podcast. We are longtime listeners, learned so much from you. Let's see. What about me? I just started pickleball almost 2 years ago. In fact, met Shelley the very first day I was on the court, and we became fast friends then. I had just ended a marriage. I had just moved. I had a whole new environment and was in a good space, but it's like, okay, how am I going to meet new people and what am I going to do? I'd retired, just recently retired. So everything changed all at once, but it was awesome. And pickleball has been unbelievably wonderful in every way, shape, and form.
That is awesome. I just lost my screen behind me, but that's fine. We're going to keep on going. Sher, thanks for sharing that. We're going to talk about that a little bit more because we just talked about that on the other podcast too. So let's play with it a little bit. Shelley, why don't you share a little bit about yourself with the listeners?
Yeah, my husband and I had just been traveling. It was like in 2018, we sold everything and were traveling around the world, and we had just come back, and we raised our family here in Seattle, but we had just come back, and so I kind of was looking for a new community, kind of wondering what I wanted to do. And I had a friend say, hey, you need to go try pickleball. And like we talked about earlier, I wasn't an athlete. And so I'm like, well, pickleball, I never played tennis. Can I do this? And I went to my first lesson and I gave it a try, and I've been hooked ever since. And I can't believe the amazing community it's brought me, the joy it's brought to my life, and how it's empowered me as an individual. It's just been amazing.
That is awesome stuff. And tell us a little bit about what's the genesis for the podcast? Like, whoever wants to take it, I'll leave it up to you guys. So what was the genesis for the podcast? How did you guys decide, hey, let's do a podcast? And then kind of like tell everybody a little bit about what the podcast is about, because we're going to send them there at the end and we'll put it in the show notes too.
Okay, go ahead, Sher.
So it's called Life Lessons from Pickleball. And the way we came about it, as I mentioned, we met on the pickleball court for a lesson and then just became great friends and started realizing all this magic and joy and incredible physical activity and all this. And we were having so much fun and met all these other people who were having so much fun. And we wanted to start hearing their stories. We were sharing our own stories with each other, and we wanted to hear everybody else's stories. And we have international backgrounds, each of us. So we were able to reach out to people all over the world and say, will you be guest on this show if we do it? And we had friends who were our first guests, and they helped us get our feet wet and figure it out. And we sat down and came up with how many words, Shelley? Like
probably 50 words. We brainstormed, like what pickleball had brought to our lives, like wisdom, sharing, connectedness, high vibration, heart, joy, just the list just went on and on. And we were astounded, really, when we sat down and did it. And then we took our list and we distilled it into 3 pillars. And our 3 pillars were connectedness, joy, and empowerment.
Love it.
You have 3 pillars in your system too, Tony.
Yeah.
We do a lot of stuff in 3s, so that's awesome. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I love, so it's connectedness, joy, and empowerment. That's awesome. Those are great.
Yeah.
So community, basically connectedness, community, joy, your personal reaction and happiness, and then empowerment is this growing or strengthening of yourself. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes. Just feeling like physically and emotionally and mentally, like you said, if all of a sudden I'm an athlete, it is very empowering. I can do this. I'm
going to have to give a little context about the athlete thing in a second, because, so let me give you context of that. Right. So what happened was, during our podcast interview a little bit ago, I mentioned about the idea of, using the term athlete to define yourself. If you play pickleball multiple days and, host a podcast for pickleball, you're more than just a casual player. And that seems to, and this is something I want to give credit to my co-head coach, CJ Johnson, because it's something that she was very, CJ, and I didn't tell you guys this during our interview before, but like CJ's been an athlete her entire life. So imagine, she's been an athlete during a lot of times when, being a professional woman athlete, which she was, one of the easiest thing in the world. It wasn't like, not that today is like easy, but it's maybe easier than it was, 20 years ago. I can't give away her
Before
age.
Title IX.
Yeah, a little bit ago. So, but she was very adamant about that, and that connected, I believe, with Shelley, because Shelley, like the concept of being an athlete seems to be something that really resonated with you, Shelley. It's what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yeah, always being the kid that I'm athletic, but I never had the confidence to join a team or go out for sports. So I never thought of myself as an athlete. And so pickleball's been really empowering.
And what's interesting is just even using that term will potentially, start percolating through other things, because, like, for instance, an athlete is more likely to warm up before they play. An athlete is more likely to stretch a little bit after they play. An athlete is more likely to do these different, hydrate before a big day of play, whatever the things that athletes do. And so now all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to do this because I'm an athlete, right? So then it starts percolating through other parts. So it's super cool. Awesome.
Yeah. It's really cool.
And I love the words, and I'm going to put you guys on the spot for a second. So, because this is the question that we ask our students, which is, and I'll give you guys a second to think about it, because I'll probably ramble on about something for a second, but think about what's your one word relationship with pickleball. So what is the one word that defines your relationship with pickleball? If you're ready, you can answer. If you need a minute, kind of wink at me and I'll keep talking about something.
Actually, the word that comes for me is presence. When I am, I listened to one of your, I listened to most of them, but one of them that you talk about is even focusing so much on the pickleball that you see the holes of the pickleball. I mean, you can almost feel one with that ball, and no matter where it goes, you're ready for it. And that only happens if we are present in that very moment. And I try to carry that into my life too, not as well, and not always well on the pickleball court either. But that's the word that comes from me.
It's interesting because you can, and I'm gonna get to you, Shelley, in a second. But it's interesting how you can think about using. I like to think about pickleball, and this is something that's fairly recent for me in terms of this thought process. But I've been thinking about pickleball a lot as a canvas, right? And pickleball itself is fine. It's great. You go out there, hit the ball. But it's more than about the plastic ball and the paddle and whatever. It's a canvas for ourselves, right? And so we get to work on ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually on the pickleball court. Yeah. And so what's interesting about presence is this idea. It's almost like a meditation, right? It becomes like a meditation for you. If you approach it that way, super healthy for you. You're going to be fine with the results, and you're going to get all the benefits from it, plus the additional benefit of the presence practice, right? Which is awesome. So, all right, Shelley, what you got? You got a word?
I got a word. It's joy. I'm laying in bed the night before. I'm so excited knowing I have a pickleball game the next day. I wake up, I jump out of bed, go to my pickleball game. I love the community. Even if I don't know the people I'm playing, I'm excited to meet new people. And I'm joy with what my body's going to do, what's going to happen that day. It's just, I
love it.
Yeah.
And the important thing about the reason I asked the question is, and we ask the question of our students, is that word, it's your word, right? You came up with it. I didn't come up with it. I didn't even suggest it. You guys came up with it. So that word becomes y'all's quid pro quo when you go play. So basically, like, instead of, like, results don't matter, because that's not why you went to play. You guys didn't say, I play pickleball. My one word relationship is kicking ass when I play pickleball, or winning every game when I play pickleball. So, if presence for Sher and joy for Shelley, then you're good to go. The rest doesn't matter. You went 0-8 today. Okay, cool.
Yay!
I got to see my friends. I had whatever. Yeah.
I got pickled. Yay!
Yeah, it is what it is. You're playing the greatest sport on the planet from my perspective. So
yeah,
awesome stuff. Share with us a little bit, if you don't mind. Like, was there something that happened along your pickleball journey, right, that was like either an eye-opening moment for you from the mental side, or some challenge that you faced that you were like, man, this is tough, and it can be, how you felt after a losing session. It can be an experience with a player who, didn't behave the way that we would like players to behave. Whatever stuff that jumps out to you, that was a thing that happened that kind of changed maybe a little bit of the trajectory on your pickleball journey.
Yeah, I'm very relationship oriented. And so if I'm playing with somebody for whom winning is the end all be all. I have a hard time with that. And in fact, I'll start out by saying I play this for fun. I do try to win. I try to do my best, but if I don't win, no big deal. So if I'm playing with somebody for whom that is a big deal, the pressure I feel to support them in their goal to win is pretty tricky for me. And I'm an empath, so I'm kind of picking up. So Shelley, and I'm picking up their anxiety and yada yada. So the more I can stay in my own zone, which is important in my life too, to not just be absorbing everybody else's thoughts and feelings and taking them on as mine, to stay in that moment. So I think that might be why presence is such an important word for me, that I stay in my lane, I stay in my mind, I stay in my heart, do the best I can, and have fun in the process.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then I think that's something that's greatly undervalued, I would say, in terms of just even performance, right? As an athlete, as a player, is the energy between partners on the doubles court. It's it's so impactful, because I have the same experience. Like, I've gotten to a place in my life where I love playing pickleball, but I don't go play pickleball to be stressed. And
Exactly.
and that's then don't call me, if that's going to be the case. And I mean, I'll tell you guys a quick side story, and then I'm gonna get to you, Shelley, on it. But the quick side story is, I go to nationals in 23. It was in Dallas, the PPA nationals thing. And I like going to tournaments primarily because I get to see the senior pro players who I don't get to see on a regular basis, because they're all over the country, right? So to me, I view it like as an open play to me. Like, I get to go and say hi to them and play a couple of games. Whatever happens, I'm fine. And so, but I'm looking around and I'm seeing all my friends and other folks that I know, they look miserable. Like, absolutely miserable. Like, the faces and the thing and the whatever. And so I actually wrote a piece about it. I'm like, why did you go to national? Like, you paid money to go there. You had to travel. You had to take time away. You had to register. You had to be upset. I'm like, wow, and we're all 50 plus, I wish, 20-year-olds could also do it, but as 50 plus, we're like, come on, and, so anyways, I find that fascinating, right? This like win at all costs kind of a thing. It's just, anyway. So sorry, Shelley, go ahead. Share with us something if you don't mind.
Where I'm at in my pickleball journey is, like I said, I love it. The first time I'm an athlete, I love doing tournaments. It's so fun, so empowering. But I'm starting to develop this fear that I'm not going to get any better. And what if I don't keep getting as good as my partner? And then what if my partner doesn't want to be my partner anymore because I'm not, getting better? And so I thinking about what do I do with that? Where do I turn? What do I do to get better?
Right now, there's folks listening to the podcast, and you just touch a nerve. You just basically, like, you put a hot poker on a nerve, because getting left behind, or that is a super stressful feeling for players. I don't want to get left behind. For yours, it's more like specific, more micro, because yours is specific to a one partnership, in a tournament, which is important. For others, it might just be like, I'm going to be left behind in this group, right? I'm not going to get invited to this group anymore. That's a difficult. It's difficult to answer it, like, in terms of, like, what do I do to keep up? Because that's, like, almost impossible to exactly do, right? And there's numerous reasons for that, right? I mean, and remember, it could also go the other way. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you would dump your partner, but it happens, right? Where, like, if there's not a congruence of objectives, and that's what I think I would focus on for you and your partner, is why are you guys playing tournaments? If you guys are playing tournaments because, let's say your partner's in the same place you are mentally, not maybe your partner has better thirds and you have better volleys, whatever. But if your partner is going to the tournament to enjoy being with Shelley, enjoy the competition, enjoy the camaraderie, then that would remove some of your stress about, oh my God, my third shots are at a 62% rate and they need to be at a 67% rate in order for this partner to want to play with me. So maybe have a conversation with your partner about, like, what their interests are. And then I would suggest that if let's assume that your partner, and obviously I'm it's very hypothetical, right? But let's assume that your
Right.
partner is like, I want to win at all costs. I need to get gold medals and I'm going to keep going. And then that'll inform your decision-making in terms of what you want to do. And if that's consistent with what you want, it doesn't sound like it's consistent with what you want anyway. So that would tell you some information that you go, okay. And that's, if you want the best for your partner, you say, and I'll tell you what I did recently was I got a friend of mine here in Tampa, of ours, me and my wife, very good pickleball players. Been working on her game a lot. Hasn't really broken through the senior pro ranks yet. I think she's underthinking how good she is, in terms of what she can get as a partner. But anyway, she said, she asked me if I would play with her in the US Open. I had no plans of playing in the US Open this year because we got too much stuff going on and we're not going down there for the whole week like we have done in the past. But so I had a conversation with her and I said, Chris, here's the thing, right? I want to be upfront. I'm not drilling right now. I'm not hardly playing. I play once a week on average of that 1.2 times a week or something like that, on most. So you can get a better partner than me if you want to give yourself the best chance to go deep in the draw. I'll do my best. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give it my all, but I got to be realistic. Right. And so we had an open conversation about it. And her interest is to work on her strategy, which I'm very good at in game strategy. And I'm a very good mixed doubles player. And so that'll be good for her, I think. And she knows I'll give it my all and she knows I'll be a supportive partner. So I do offer some characteristics that are beneficial, but I am not the best option for going deep in a tournament. I have a puncher's chance, if you know what I'm saying. Like me and my partners have beaten very good teams and we've competed against other very good teams very closely. But sometimes I run out of energy or, things break down because I'm not doing them as often. Right. So I would have a conversation, Shelley, with your partner, before I put all that burden on myself in terms of, I would, because I think right now you're basically, you're projecting a little bit about what you're thinking to your partner instead of talking to your partner, and just have the conversation. And the other thing I would suggest, just big picture improvement for anybody listening and for you guys as well, if this interests you, it is the numbering system works against us in our improvement journey because the jumps are pretty big. So like when you talk about I'm a 3-0 and I'm going to go to 3-5, or I'm a 3-5 going to 4-0, those are humongous jumps. Yeah. And it is better to think about it in terms of I'm going from 3-5-5 to 3-6-2 or something like that, right? Because I would suggest to you, if you hypothetically knew that that team A was a 3.7 team, 3.7, and team B was legit 3.6 team, right? If we can know that certainty, that in that match, the team A, the 3.7 team, wins like 11-2. It's not close. Wow. So the difference between 3.7 and 3.6 is night and day. And the same thing with 3.8 and 3.7 and 3.6 and 3.5, right? So you see what I'm saying? So it kind of like, you got to bring it down a little bit to like, because I think too many players are like, I need to become a 4.0. And you're like, legit 4.0. Well, legit 4.0 is, it should be hard. Yeah, because legit 4.0 is like a legit 4.0, and we call the term that I coined and I use is benchmark. So a benchmark 4.0 player is a standard bearer. They're a standard bearer for pickleball. They know how to play pickleball amazingly well. The reason they don't play 4.5 is because of some offensive weapons, some other things, but they play every facet of the game excellent at at good 4.0, benchmark 4.0 player. So that's a standard bearer. I mean, that's not, and I think we throw these numbers around like they're like no big deal. 3.5 is an amazing level. 3.5 is solid play. Most rec play is not 3.5 play, not good 3.5 play. You know what I mean? They may call themselves 3.5, but it's not really. And that's the other thing too, is like these number thing is kind of, they're deceiving because it's like, players are like, I need to be a 4.0. I'm like, forget about the number. You're going to play like, if you know how to play 4.0, you'll play 4.0 when you're out there on the court. Whatever your number is, you're going to play like a 4.0 player, right? And if your number is 4.0, but you're playing like a 3.3, you're still going to play like a 3.3. The number not going to help you, right? So anyway, and your thing specifically, big picture, the number thing or like that, just be careful with that because those gaps are huge, 3.5 to 4.0, 3.0, whatever, wherever you're at, And then on the partner, I would just have a conversation with your partner. My guess is, based on what you've described as your interest, it sounds like you're having fun at tournaments. If
Yes.
you're having fun at tournaments, that tells me that your partner's having fun at tournaments.
Yes.
Which tells me that your partner's probably in the same place you are. You just need to have a conversation. So you're like, oh, cool, I can relax now. So anyway, that would be my suggestion on that front. And then obviously, keep working on your game and keep growing the way you want to grow. And one other piece I'll tell you guys, and anybody listening, is the journey. There's no endpoint. And that's the thing that's tricky, because what players think about, and this is the way we explain it. So we go, so where you're standing right now as a pickleball player, wherever you're at. So you're imagining a player, call it 6 months from now, right? So you want to be that player, the one 6 months from now that can do all these things and all this stuff. Let's fast forward for a second. So now 6 months from now, what do you think is going to happen?
You're going to want to be the player
that exactly. You're never satisfied. If you're always looking ahead at the next player, at the next version of yourself, you don't enjoy this player and you don't enjoy these steps. And so you really rob yourself, because the next player is going to want to be the next player and the next, and it never ends. And so you lose, but it works against you, because you lose these moments that you should treasure. You should love the little step that you took yesterday, and the one day you're going to take tomorrow, and the silly thing you're going to do the next day to take a step back, and then you take another step forward. And you should enjoy all of those. They're like the presence thing that Cher was talking about. So,
is that your phone? Does that mean time's up?
Timer.
Okay,
no, it's not. No, it's not a timer. Not a timer. You can give me a second. But I'm going to tell you what it was. So it's my wife calling me. She's the only one that bypasses my phone, but it's fine. So that's why at the beginning of the podcast, there's a phone ringing, because my wife called during the podcast and I kept it in. So that's the story. So anyway, Cher, tell me the thing.
It's okay if you want to take that call.
No, it's fine. I'll call her back.
So I was just saying, your episode, Are We There Yet? You go into detail about that whole concept. I loved that. It's like, it's the journey and who we are now. Yeah. Good on you. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of times it's just a perspective thing. I'm not telling you guys anything that wasn't already there. It's just you maybe weren't seeing it. Like it's kind of like lifting a blanket or something, going like, look, it's right there, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I get it. Like I'm not teaching you guys anything. I'm just showing you something that's already present. So anyway, which a lot of times is the work. So anyway, so all right, guys. So let me ask you a question here. So players out there, I love the fact that I listen to Pickleball Therapy, but I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing to continue to. Not continue to, but to share, right? To share stories from yourselves and from other players, and sharing about yourself. Like Cher, I appreciate you sharing, and Shelley, you too, right? But sharing about your journeys, right? So that other players out there don't think that they're the only ones that have gone through life changes, and then pickleball's been good for them. It's so helpful to hear that kind of information from you and from your guests on the podcast. So I certainly would encourage our listeners to check you guys out. What's the best way for them to find you guys?
Life lessons from pickleballpodcast.com.
And then the other thing is you guys are on Apple, Spotify, wherever there are podcasts, right?
Everything.
Okay.
And YouTube.
So you can type in Life Lessons from Pickleball, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Life Lessons from Pickleball.
In your podcast feed, the same place you listen to this podcast, unless you're on our platform. So, ladies, it was a pleasure chatting with you and getting to know you guys better. Appreciate everything you guys are doing, and keep putting up the good work.
Tony, you're a hoot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The check's in the mail, I swear. You've already taught us so much.
Thanks, guys.